Close your eyes and imagine a castle lost to time, its walls blackened by smoke and history. Flickering candlelight casts shadows that seem alive, stretching across stone corridors. The air smells of damp moss and burnt wood. Somewhere beneath, unseen hundreds vanished without a trace. If you dare to uncover the truth, subscribe now, because what lies ahead will haunt your thoughts long after this video ends. This is the story of Character Name, born into a family whose power was absolute and whose secrets were buried deep within the foundation of their estate. From a young age, whispers of dark deeds and unexplained disappearances trailed behind them, though no one dared speak too loudly. The childhood of Character Name was punctuated by tragedy, the sudden mysterious deaths of close relatives that left a chilling void and planted the seeds of obsession. By the time they reached adolescence, Character Name had witnessed horrors most could not imagine. The corridors of the estate were lined with rooms closed off for generations, some rumored to hold relics of torture or arcane knowledge. A single forbidden door locked and chained would forever beckon them with promises of forbidden understanding. But curiosity, as is often the case, came with a price. The first experiments were small, almost insignificant to the outside eye, but to Character Name, they were revolutionary. Animals, then servants, then outsiders brought under the guise of hospitality, each trial revealing more about the fragile boundaries between life and death. The flicker of candlelight revealed every twitch, every shiver, and every gasp. It was not cruelty for pleasure alone. It was an obsessive quest for mastery over the inevitable. One night, the scent of wax and iron mingled in the cold air as a terrified servant whispered a warning. Their trembling hands traced the edges of a map of the estate detailing secret chambers and hidden passageways. "There are things you must not see," the servant said, voice cracking. "Things that will haunt you if you live, Character Name." Only smiled, seeing the challenge, feeling the thrill of control. The nightmare had only just begun. News of disappearances began to trickle into nearby villages, carried by rumors and frightened travelers. Character Name's name was never spoken aloud in public, yet the shadows of fear reached beyond the estate walls. A priest visiting from the town noted the unnatural silence of the castle at night, the echoes of steps that did not belong to the living. He would later recall that first uneasy feeling, a premonition of horrors yet to unfold. The first official victim arrived unexpectedly, a distant relative under the guise of reconciliation. No one knew how they disappeared, only that the estate's doors locked behind them with a definitive clang. Inside, the air was colder, the stone walls seeming to close in. Character Name watched fascinated, recording every reaction, every heartbeat. Each moment was catalogued meticulously, forming the first pages of a growing grim journal. As weeks turned into months, Character Name's methods grew bolder. Instruments of pain designed with meticulous care were tested in silence, their purpose known only to the creator. A small fire flickered in a corner, illuminating cruel devices shaped from iron and wood. The sounds of restrained fear mingled with the crackle of flame, creating a symphony of dread that only Character Name could conduct. A surviving servant hiding behind a thick tapestry once saw a shadow move unnaturally across the chamber floor. It was Character Name, carrying tools that glinted with cold precision. A fleeting glance revealed the meticulous nature of their preparation, each chain, each spike, each instrument placed exactly where it was meant to be. And yet, in the eyes of the observer, there was not malice. There was something far more chilling, obsession incarnate. By the 9th month, the estate was whispered about far and wide, a place of fear and fascination. Outsiders dared not approach, for those who did rarely returned with more than terrified expressions and fragmented tales. But the true horror lay hidden below the main hall in a chamber whose existence few suspected. And it is there, beneath the floorboards, that the darkest secrets waited patiently for discovery. The following morning, the estate appeared serene, bathed in soft sunlight that belied the darkness lurking within. Birds sang in the gardens, and the fountains sparkled as though nothing sinister had ever occurred. Yet within the stone walls, a different world existed. Chambers of shadows, corridors of whispers, and rooms where the echoes of past torment lingered like ghosts unwilling to leave. Character name moved among them with calm precision, fully aware of the power they wielded. A traveling merchant, unaware of the estate's grim reputation, arrived one afternoon seeking shelter. His curiosity, polite yet persistent, led him to inquire about the closed-off sections of the castle. Character name smiled, an unsettling glint in their eyes, offering a seemingly innocent tour. Each hallway told a story of discipline and control, every locked door a silent warning. The merchant, feeling the chill, hesitated, but was drawn further into the web of intrigue. It was in the east wing that the first notable incident occurred. A single scream broke the afternoon's calm, slicing through corridors and echoing off stone walls. Servants froze, their eyes wide with terror, knowing that sound heralded the crossing of a threshold that should never have been breached. Character name emerged moments later, composed, carrying no visible evidence of wrongdoing, yet the lingering fear said otherwise. Curiosity, as always, was the bait, and terror the hook. Whispers among the staff became murmurs, then hushed conversations in corners. "Did you hear it?" one would ask, voice barely audible. "They've gone too far this time," another would reply, glancing nervously at the shadows. Character name ever observant, noted each exchange. In those quiet moments they found both amusement and affirmation. The fear they inspired was a currency more valuable than gold, and with each passing day the web of obsession grew tighter. By the end of that month, maps of the estate had been annotated in painstaking detail. Secret rooms, escape routes, hidden compartments, all recorded in character name's meticulous hand. Instruments of control and devices of torment were catalogued, tested for efficacy, and refined. Every detail mattered, every corner a potential stage for the unfolding drama. It was not mere cruelty, it was a carefully orchestrated symphony of dominance and discovery. A local priest, having heard rumors of the estate's growing infamy, made a cautious visit. The moment he crossed the threshold, an unease gripped him like a vice. Stone corridors seemed longer than possible, shadows deeper and darker. Candles flickered as though resisting the unnatural presence. The priest would later describe the sensation as a living malignancy within the walls, something ancient and unyielding waiting for the unwary to falter. On a moonless night, the first true challenge to character name's control appeared. A small group of villagers, emboldened by rumors and desperation, attempted to breach the outer defenses. They were met not with open violence, but with traps designed with chilling foresight. Nets, hidden pits, and devices of restraint claimed the night, leaving only silence and the faint echo of panic. By dawn, the estate remained untouched in appearance, yet its reputation had deepened into legend. Inside the estate, the human psyche became a laboratory. Those who were captured volunteers by misfortune or circumstance became subjects for careful observation. Reactions were recorded: heart rates, pupil dilation, expressions of fear, moments of hope followed by despair. Character name was fascinated not only by physical control, but by the manipulation of the mind, understanding that true power lay in the invisible chains one could craft. A young servant, barely a teenager, dared to hide in the rafters during one of character name's sessions. From above, they watched the orchestrated chaos unfold below, noting the precision and cold logic of every action. Each movement, each word was calculated to elicit maximum effect. The servants' trembling hands clenched tightly around a beam, the fear almost overwhelming, yet their mind could not tear itself away. The estate had a magnetic pull drawing in those who feared it most. It was in this environment that the most infamous chamber was revealed, hidden beneath a false floor in the main hall. No visitor had ever stumbled upon it by accident. The chamber was a vault of obsession's racks of devices, jars of preserved specimens, and ledgers filled with detailed accounts of past experiments. The air was thick, metallic, and pungent with the scent of decay. And here, beneath the surface, lay the darkest secret that would eventually define Character Name's name in history. The chamber's entrance creaked as Character Name descended the hidden staircase, candlelight trembling across the walls. Every step seemed amplified in the silence echoing off stone like a herald of doom. The air grew colder, carrying the sharp scent of iron and something older, almost like the memory of past suffering. Here, the estate's true heart pulsed unseen and unchallenged until now. Within the chamber, meticulous notes lined the walls in ink black as tar. Each observation recorded in careful script detailed reactions to fear, pain, and uncertainty. Character Name ran a finger over the pages, tracing patterns of control obsession and human fragility. It was a library of terror, a compendium of horrors disguised as scientific pursuit. And yet in the quiet, there was a sense of artistry, a horrifying symmetry in the orchestration of suffering. A distant knock at the outer gate briefly interrupted the silence. Servants flinched, shadows flickering across faces pale with anxiety. Character Name barely acknowledged it. Yet the unexpected interruption sparked a thrill, the unpredictability of others. The intrusion of chance was another layer in the carefully constructed game. Even those who thought themselves safe were in truth part of the experiment. Months passed with a grim rhythm. Visitors came and went, some by fate, others by misfortune. Character Name's methods grew more refined, the instruments more intricate. Candles burned lower smoke curling like fingers across stone walls. The very structure of the estate seemed complicit in the unfolding drama, amplifying every sound, every whisper, every faint breath of terror. The estate was alive and it had learned to obey. The first real confrontation occurred when a noble from a neighboring estate arrived questioning the rumors. Character Name welcomed them with grace and hospitality that barely masked the underlying menace. As conversation unfolded, subtle tests of control began. Which questions would provoke fear, which topics would elicit restraint. Every answer, every hesitation was noted, catalogued, and analyzed with the cold eye of precision. Outside, the surrounding villagers whispered rumors that stretched like shadows over the countryside. Some claimed to have seen figures vanish at dusk, swallowed by the stone corridors. Others spoke of lights flickering in windows long after the estate was thought empty. And though few dared approach, the name of Character Name became a cautionary tale, a specter haunting every hearth and whispered conversation. Curiosity and dread were intertwined, and both were irresistible. In a rare moment of reflection, Character Name walked alone along the parapets. Moonlight glinted off stone, revealing the vast expanse of the estate's grounds. Every path, every courtyard, every shadow was a testament to calculated design. Yet beneath the pride and control there was a flicker of unease, a subtle understanding that no fortress could entirely contain the spiraling chaos of obsession. Even power has its limits. Back inside, preparations intensified. New devices, some of intricate engineering, some cruelly simple, were brought into the chamber. Candles were positioned for maximum effect, shadows stretching and twisting to manipulate perception. Each adjustment was deliberate. The room itself became an actor in the narrative of fear, bending reality, heightening tension, and making every participant question the boundaries between imagination and horror. A lone witness hiding behind an old tapestry observed as Character Name demonstrated methods of restraint and control. The watcher's heartbeat thundered in the ears, a stark counterpoint to the serene precision of the orchestrator below. Every detail, metal glinting chains rattling a low hum of suppressed cries, was noted with obsessive care. The observer knew escape was nearly impossible, yet their mind clung to the hope of survival, a faint spark in an oppressive darkness. The estate's legend began to grow beyond its walls. Tales of disappearances, secret chambers, and inhuman precision circulated through neighboring towns. Travelers spoke of a place that seemed to breathe with its own malevolence, feeding off fear. Yet no one could fully capture the truth, the intricate, terrifying ballet of power and obsession conducted nightly within the castle's hidden chambers where shadows and candlelight danced on the edge of human comprehension. One stormy night, a messenger arrived, drenched and shivering, clutching a sealed letter from the city magistrate. Character name broke the wax with deliberate slowness, eyes glinting with curiosity and calculation. The letter hinted at inquiries into the estate's activities, veiled in polite language but heavy with implied threat. A thrill ran through. Character name. The game had taken a new exhilarating turn. The first direct challenge to authority arrived in the form of a small contingent of guards sent to investigate complaints of strange happenings. Character name greeted them with an unsettling calm, leading them through twisting corridors, opening doors that revealed nothing but shadows. The officers exchanged nervous glances, sensing that the estate itself was alive, conspiring to hide its true purpose. Inside, the instruments of torment had been reconfigured for more intricate observations. Character name moved among them like a conductor, testing, adjusting, and noting subtle reactions. The air carried the scent of wax iron and an underlying sharpness that set nerves on edge. Every sound, the creak of wood, the distant drip of water, the faint shiver of chains, was orchestrated to manipulate fear itself. A servant tasked with cleaning the main hall stumbled upon a hidden compartment containing ledgers of past subjects. Her scream was swallowed by the stone walls unnoticed by the master orchestrator above. These accidental discoveries added a new layer to the unfolding drama, the unpredictability of human error. Character name smiled at the invisible twist of fate, relishing the subtle chaos that crept into otherwise perfect control. In a quiet study, character name recorded each incident in detailed journals. Observations were precise, from the dilation of pupils to the slight trembling of fingers, from the tension in voices to the irregular rhythm of heartbeats. The human mind, the body, and the environment were all instruments in a grand experiment, a dark symphony composed in candlelight and shadow. Rumors from the surrounding villages began to merge into folklore. Travelers whispered of rooms that shifted overnight, corridors that lengthened mysteriously, and laughter that echoed where no one stood. Even those who had never seen the estate felt its presence in their dreams. The legend of character name grew a phantom of terror and fascination, entwining imagination with the whispered truth. The first serious confrontation erupted when a determined magistrate attempted to force entry. Character name orchestrated a scene of illusion. Corridors redirected, doors locked magically, and sounds of unseen activity created a sense of omnipresent surveillance. By the time the magistrate realized the manipulation, the night had passed, leaving only doubt, fear, and the eerie certainty that the estate could not be understood by ordinary logic. Among those held within the estate, stories began to circulate. Whispers of survival, brief glimpses of hope, and chilling accounts of character name's meticulous observation fueled both terror and obsession. Every escape attempt, every expression of fear was absorbed into the growing narrative of control. The estate had become more than a residence. It was a living entity feeding on human curiosity and dread. The chamber beneath the main hall remained the ultimate prize and the ultimate terror. The door was reinforced, the air dense with the tang of metal and candle smoke. Inside lay the most secretive instruments, the most carefully recorded observations, and the densest concentration of orchestrated fear. Only character name held the full knowledge of its contents, and only they could navigate its chilling intricacies without succumbing to its psychological pull. At the stroke of midnight, candles guttered in the hidden chamber as character name prepared for an experiment unlike any before. Each tool was checked, each reaction calculated. The participants, willing or otherwise, were guided into the orchestration of fear, their senses heightened by anticipation. In this meticulously prepared darkness, even the air seemed to hold its breath, awaiting the unfolding of an intricate and terrifying human drama. The night deepened, rain lashing against the stone walls, and character name moved with deliberate precision through the labyrinthine corridors. Each footstep echoed like a drumbeat of anticipation. Shadows flickered across the walls, elongated by the trembling candlelight, turning the familiar hallways into uncanny shifting landscapes. Every corner seemed alive, watching, waiting. A new subject, trembling with a mixture of fear and curiosity, was brought into the chamber. Their eyes widened at the sight of the meticulously arranged instruments, the jars, and the ledgers filled with observations of those who had come before. Character name observed silently, noting the subtle signs of terror, shallow breaths flinching at the slightest sound, the faintest tremor in hands. Outside, the villagers whispered more urgently. Tales of vanished travelers and the estate's seemingly supernatural defenses spread from mouth to mouth. Some claimed to hear faint screams carried on the wind, while others reported glimpsing candlelight moving in rooms that should have been empty. The legend of character name was growing faster than anyone could control, a shadow stretching over the countryside. Inside, character name conducted a series of psychological experiments. Each subject was exposed to carefully calibrated stimuli, sudden noises, shifting shadows, and the subtle play of light and dark. Reactions were recorded with obsessive attention to detail, each note a testament to the orchestrator's understanding of human fear and the limits of control. The young servant who had been watching from the rafters became inadvertently involved. Their sudden movement caused a chain reaction of noise, drawing character name's gaze. Rather than punishment, the subject was observed with keen interest, their accidental intrusion providing new data on human reflex and panic. Even mistakes became part of the design, feeding the intricate web of control. A storm outside intensified rattling windows and shaking doors. The estate seemed to respond in kind, as if the walls themselves absorbed and reflected the chaos of the elements. Character name walked the halls calmly, a figure of unyielding control amid the fury of nature, demonstrating that mastery over human behavior and environment extended even to the unpredictable forces of the outside world. Midnight passed, and character name turned attention to the east wing, where a secret passage had recently been discovered. The space was narrow and suffocating, lit only by the faint glow of candlelight. Shadows moved with a life of their own along the stone walls. Each step deeper into the passage was a test not only of the subject's courage, but of character name's ability to orchestrate tension and dread with flawless precision. A minor mishap occurred when a candle toppled, spilling wax onto the floor. The resulting hiss and acrid smell caused a flinch in the subject and a ripple of tension through the chamber. Character name merely observed, noting the subtle physiological responses. Even an accident became a calculated element, a tool to further understand the fragility and predictability of fear. By the early hours, the estate had taken on an almost sentient quality. Corridors seemed to close indoors, creaked without wind, and the faintest of sounds carried unnaturally far. Character name walked among the rooms, a master of shadows, aware that the structure itself was a collaborator in the grand design. Every flicker of candlelight, every echo enhanced the terrifying illusion of omnipresence. At last, the hidden chamber revealed its final secret for the night. Beneath the floorboards, a compartment concealed a ledger detailing years of meticulous experimentation. Each entry described reactions to terror with startling precision, capturing the essence of human fear and the subtle interplay of control, anticipation, and environment. Here lay the distilled knowledge of character name's obsessions, an archive that would haunt anyone who dared read it. Dawn approached, pale light seeping through narrow windows, yet the estate remained shrouded in shadow. Character name moved among the halls, checking the arrangements one final time. Every chair, every instrument, every shadow was exactly where it should be poised to elicit maximum tension. The morning air did little to dispel the lingering scent of wax iron and anticipation. A visitor claiming to be a scholar requested access to the estate's archives. Character name welcomed them with calculated courtesy, masking the underlying danger with charm. As the visitor perused ancient ledgers and notes, their unease grew. Candles flickered across the pages, shadows dancing over writing that detailed horrors both subtle and grotesque. Curiosity and dread intertwined, creating a perfect storm. Meanwhile, whispers of rebellion and discovery began to circulate among the servants. Some spoke in hushed tones of doors that led nowhere, hallways that changed overnight, and fleeting glimpses of figures in candlelight that vanished when approached. Even the staff accustomed to fear began to sense a pattern beyond mere superstition, a deliberate orchestration of terror that went deeper than anyone could imagine. Late morning brought a test of loyalty. Character name orchestrated a scenario designed to provoke panic while observing behavior under stress. The subjects, unaware they were part of an experiment, reacted in predictable and unpredictable ways. Notes were taken with meticulous care, every word and gesture logged to refine the understanding of fear's nuances. Outside the village, council debated action. Reports of disappearances and strange occurrences had grown insistent. Messengers traveled cautiously, delivering warnings in hushed voices, yet those in power hesitated, wary of provoking the unknown force residing in the estate. Character name's reputation as a figure both brilliant and terrifying had spread like wildfire, leaving the countryside in suspense and dread. By midday, a storm returned, clouds churning violently across the sky. Rain pelted the estate, creating a rhythm against the stone that seemed to sync with the tense atmosphere inside. Character name moved among the chambers, eyes glinting with intent. The elements themselves seemed to be allies in the orchestration of fear, amplifying sounds, shadows, and the sense of isolation for those within. In the afternoon, a hidden passage was revealed accidentally by a careless servant. Character name observed silently, noting the natural reactions to surprise and the instinct to flee. Each action was a lesson in control and unpredictability. Even mistakes became data contributing to the ever-growing archive of human responses to fear and stress. That evening, the first serious confrontation occurred. A small contingent of guards arrived under orders to investigate. Character name guided them through corridors designed to confuse doors that opened onto brick walls and hallways that twisted perception. Fear and uncertainty crept into the officers' minds, and by the time they realized the manipulation, it was too late to confront the orchestrator directly. Inside, a candlelit chamber revealed intricate mechanisms designed to test perception and endurance. Subjects were guided through tasks that strained mind and body, every detail meticulously recorded. Shadows elongated unnaturally, sounds echoed in deceptive ways, and the line between imagination and reality blurred. The estate itself had become a participant in the experiment, amplifying every sensation and emotion. As night fell once more, character name stood alone at the center of the main hall, surveying the results of the day. Candles flickered, shadows danced, and the estate hummed with a quiet, malevolent energy. Each observation, each reaction, each measure of control had been catalogued. The boundary between orchestrator and instrument observer and observed had become nearly indistinguishable. The true power of character name lay not only in knowledge but in the mastery of fear itself. The following morning, an unexpected visitor arrived, an emissary from a distant noble house bringing subtle threats wrapped in formal courtesy. Character name greeted them with composed politeness, but every gesture, every pause was calculated. Behind the facade, the mind raced how to incorporate this new variable into the ever-evolving tapestry of fear and control. Inside the hidden chamber, a new subject was introduced. Their task seemed simple: to retrieve a ledger from the far side of the room. Yet every step was monitored, every hesitation noted. The faintest flinch, the irregular heartbeat, the quickened breath, all were recorded. Each response was another thread woven into the complex narrative of human terror, orchestrated by character name. Word of strange occurrences reached neighboring villages in full force. Some claimed the estate's walls moved at night, that figures were glimpsed where none should stand, and that whispers floated on the wind carrying threats and warnings. The reputation of character name transcended reality, blurring the line between legend and truth. Fear became collective, feeding itself in a loop of anticipation and rumor. That evening, character name staged an intricate scenario to test both the mind and body of those within. Shadows shifted unnaturally, sounds were amplified or muted with precise timing, and subtle cues provoked panic. Observations were made with meticulous care, each reaction logged. The estate itself seemed to pulse with tension, responding as if alive, a silent partner in the dark experiment. A minor servant inadvertently disrupted the delicate arrangement. A dropped key clattered across the stone floor, echoing unnaturally. Character name. Observed quietly, analyzing the instinctive reactions. Even mistakes contributed to the overall understanding of human psychology under pressure, demonstrating that unpredictability could be as valuable as compliance in mastering fear. By nightfall, a storm gathered momentum, hammering the estate with wind and rain. Each gust rattled windows. Each thunderclap resonated through stone corridors. Character name used the chaos to heighten tension, moving silently among chambers, ensuring that perception of danger remained constant. Nature itself had become an unwitting ally in the orchestration of terror. Within the deepest chamber, character name prepared the final sequence of the day's experiments. The instruments were arranged. Candles flickered and shadows stretched along the walls. Participants, aware only of fragments of the scenario, moved with trepidation. Every sound, every step, every reaction was under precise observation. Mastery of fear was not merely a pursuit, it had become an art form. A confrontation with an intruder, someone bold enough to challenge the orchestrator, unfolded. Character name navigated the encounter with deliberate cunning, manipulating perception to create confusion and doubt. The intruder, disoriented and unsettled, became both participant and data point, feeding the ongoing analysis of control and submission. The midnight hour brought silence, broken only by distant thunder and the faint drip of water through the ancient stone walls. Character name reflected on the day's observations, cataloging each response, noting subtle nuances in human behavior, and anticipating future manipulations. The estate itself seemed to breathe a living participant in the ongoing experiment. At last, character name stood alone in the main hall, surveying the culmination of decades of observation, experimentation, and control. The instruments of fear, the hidden passages, the meticulously documented reactions all formed a chilling archive of human vulnerability. As candles guttered and shadows danced across the stone, one truth was undeniable: mastery over fear was absolute, and the legend of character name would haunt generations to come.